All right, guys, we are up at King Cade at Oak Park Mall in Kansas City to get a look at the Nova Blast from Unico. Let's stop talking about it and go inside and take a look. All right, guys, here you go. We are sitting here with the Unico Nova Blast. It is due to ship later this summer. You can see here we got Dragon Ball Z going. Let's get into it and take a closer look.
The first thing you'll notice when you see the Unico Nova Blast is the bright white of that Japanese candy cab inspired design. It really stands out amongst the traditional arcades in this setting. The Nova Blast, which comes in two pieces with that top bar top with the 26-inch screen, those beautiful candy colored controls, and the base, which includes a coin mechanism, coin door, all that fun stuff. When you first sit down to begin playing in front of the Nova Blast, you'll immediately be taken aback by that huge 26-inch LCD display. The next thing that stands out is those bright colored Sanwa controls. And let me tell you, the convex buttons, the feel of these are excellent. Now, one of the things I noticed in this early prototype is that the Player 1 controls felt pretty loose. The joystick was just not snappy. It didn't have a lot of precision. So I don't know if that is due to the sheer amount of play this particular prototype has had. I know it's been floating around to different people for a while as an opportunity to check this out before it ships later this year, but it was very noticeable. When I flipped over to Player 2, different story. The controls were firm, they were very precise, and so you can tell there is quality behind those controls. But despite all that, the cab really did play well. I found, obviously, Player 2 to be more responsive, and so I spent most of the time playing from the Player 2 position. Another great feature of the Nova Blast is that it supports multiple types of connections. You have your traditional JAMA connection for those arcade boards like the one you see here, which is the Japanese arcade release of Dragon Ball Z. It also features HDMI and USB connections, so you can connect other devices such as a Mr. Cade, a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, you name it. It supports many different connection types, which adds to the versatility of this cabinet. One of the biggest worries I had when I first heard about the Nova Blast was the fact that it was an all-metal design. I thought it was either going to be extremely heavy or it was going to feel cheap and it was going to be wobbly, and I was greatly concerned. What I can say is I'm happy to say is the entire cabinet with the bar top and the base comes in at just over 110 pounds, which means it's very movable by a single person. Obviously, it comes in two pieces, so it's perfect for in your home. You can move it around. One of the other things is it is still really sturdy. The metal does not feel cheap in any way. It's fully powder coated, not painted. And when you're jostling around with those controls, slamming them back and forth, there is minor movement in the cab. It is virtually still. You can't ask for a better experience. This thing is not going to move around on you. So not everything is good, right? So I mentioned earlier, the Player 1 controls felt loose. Don't know if that's due to the fact that this is a prototype and not the final production version. but that's a concern because this thing hasn't been around that long. I know lots of people have been playing with it, but by no means could it have gotten the kind of play you would see if this cab was sitting in an arcade 24/7. So that's a bit concerning to me, but those are something that's easily solved if that ends up being the case. Of larger concern to me was the monitor itself. While the colors are bright and beautiful, the image itself on this Dragon Ball Z was very fuzzy. So I don't know if they had a filter applied or if that was artifacting from the Unico screen itself, which is the 26-inch ULM 26 Pro, which is from their line of Phoenix monitors. The other concern I had is there was definite clipping on the sides of the image. So as you look at the side, you can see the player 1 is cut off and part of the score on the player 2 side was cut off. That's a huge concern because there's all these extra pixels that are unused. So it's not like the screen real estate isn't there. This is an artifact, a quality issue with the screen itself. Now, I'm told that they are working on updates that will correct some of these issues. And so I'm hopeful that that's the case. But right now on this prototype itself, the screen is just not where it needs to be. But again, the colors are beautiful. So that gives me some hope. And again, this game is connected via JAMA, not necessarily HDMI. I've heard the clipping isn't as obvious when you connect an HDMI source, that it displays more properly, but something to keep in mind again, that we really need to see these updates to this monitor released before I can feel comfortable shelling out the $14.99 to purchase this bundle, which includes the bar top and the base. And speaking of price, let's talk about that for a second. As mentioned, this comes in 2 units. So you have the bar top, which you can currently pre-order for $9.99 on Unico's website. It also comes in 2 different flavors. The U2 is what you see here. There's also a U4 unit, which is more square around the top of the cab and has 2 more pronounced speakers up there to mirror a different design of a candy cab. Once you include the base, you're looking at $11.99, so you get the bar top and the base for a total of $1,200. And if you want to add the 2 stools with that for each player, obviously, you're looking at a total of $13.99.
All right, guys, there you have it. If you have been following this channel for any length of time, you know I have been trying to get my hands on the Unico Nova Blast to check this out since clear back in December when Unico was the premier sponsor of the KC Retro Expo here in Kansas City. Unfortunately, we weren't able to connect it then, but we finally got a look at it today thanks to the fine folks at King Cade in Oak Park Mall in Kansas City, Missouri, who got their hands on one of the early prototypes and put it out there for customers to get a look at, to get a chance to play. And although this was just one of the early prototypes, the experience, the gameplay was excellent. Of course, we touched on some of the issues it has, but for me, it was a great experience getting a chance to spend a few hours with this cab. And I can say that if Unico lives up to the promises that they've laid out, that they will get the monitor issues fixed, that they will be able to ship these things. There's already been a few different delays, so hopefully they will ship these on time, which should be later this month going into next, sometime this summer essentially. If they can get this out and fulfill those promises, for me, this is one of the premier products in the home arcade space for this year. I mean, bar none. You got really 2 standouts with the At Games 4K Legends pinball machine and Unico with the Nova Blast Candy Cab. Now, a bit of a caveat, most of you watching this probably already know this, but just in case you don't, the Nova Blast does not come with any kinds of games. It comes with those JAMA hookups, it comes with the HDMI and USB connections, but this cab is designed for you to bring your own arcade boards or other devices like a PS3, an Xbox 360, or something like a Mr. Cade, or an analog pocket with a dock, which is the direction I'm thinking of going when I get one of these, so that you can play those FPGA arcade games with near zero latency, the way they were meant to be played. So as always, I appreciate you joining us for this review. I'd love to hear your comments. What did you think of it? What did you think of this early look? Is the Nova Blast something you're looking forward to getting? Please let us know below. As always, those comments do help out the channel. And if you're new here, be sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell for notifications for future videos like these. And before I let you go, I did want to touch on one other piece that we didn't talk about in this video, and that is the audio. The controls for this audio are super simple. There's a little dial right there on the control pad. It is easy to mess with, turn up, turn down at will. Very nice audio controls, and the audio sounds great. So as I depart here with you, I'm going to leave you with a few minutes of gameplay footage so you can check out the sounds, see the sights, and hear all the goodness that was the King Cade arcade. And until next time, have fun.